Let's move on to some questions from Effie, and then I'll cycle back to HE if we get the time. So we have our first question from Effie. You know this already, but every year we negotiate on pay and conditions nationally with the college employer body, the Association of Colleges, the AOC. But individual college bosses are then free to completely ignore the AOC's recommendations on pay. When will Labour look into reintroducing binding national bargaining in further education in England?
Look, first of all, let me just say I completely understand the frustration in FE about pay levels, about levels of vacancies, including in some of those areas that when I was talking about the overarching vision are some of the areas where we most need to make sure that we've got people in our colleges to train the engineers, the construction workers, the digital skills users of the future, and we don't have sufficient of them. I also understand the feeling in FE of being the Cinderella sector, and I can understand, and I can understand the frustration. I can understand the frustration about the decision that we had to take when I was talking about the 5.5% school pay increase, not to fund that across FE in the way in which we did, related to the distinction between those areas which have a pay review body and those areas that don't. We have subsequently, of course, got in the budget £300 million for FE, £50 million of which we've made available for 16 to 19 provision in FE colleges from April to August this year, in order to help colleges to think about funding things that will support recruitment and retention without tying it to a specific issue. But this is a work in progress, and I have said that I can't see a justification for there being a differential pay for those who work in FE or non-academised sixth form colleges and those who work in the rest of the 16 to 19 sector.
So this was just the other related question that our members wanted to ask you on that, because obviously for us, part of the reason things have got so bad in FE is because we don't have binding national bargaining. So, we have colleges kind of going rogue and the union having to hold them to account locally. But we do, as you've just gestured towards, this big pay gap that only exists now, or no commitment to close it only exists in England, of somewhere between £7,000 to £9,000. So one of the things that our members were asking is, the pay gap between schools and college teachers is causing irreparable damage to further education. People leaving, as you said. What is Labour going to do to close the gap? Is there a good news message you can leave for our FE members? Well,
first of all, I hope people have noted what I said about the 300 million, what I said about the decision to allocate 50 million in the way in which we have done. I hope they notice the extension of targeted retention incentives to teachers in further education this year for the first time. I hope they noted our commitment in our 6,500 new teachers, that will be across schools and colleges. And let me just say that wasn't necessarily a given, and that was a particular decision to say that that's also got to relate to colleges. And I hope they hear what I said about, our understanding about the position that FE finds itself in. But given everything that we talked about earlier with respect to the fiscal situation that the government finds itself in, this is not something that is going to be solved overnight, and it's a constant creative argument with the Treasury about where our investment needs to go. I will leave it at that.
And will you be telling the Treasury how much more money our FE sector needs?
Yes, that is what I do. Yes.
I know, but they need to hear it.
Okay, I do. I and Bridget do make the case, and have made the case, for FE. That's part of the reason why we got the 300 million. Yeah. We share frustrations about not having been able to match what we did for school teachers with what we wanted to do in FE as well. I understand that. Now, you know, your members could say, well, you can be as frustrated as you like, we didn't get the money. But I can assure you that, you know, that is very much part of the discussions and the thinking that we're doing around the spending review and in our conversations with the Treasury.
But I genuinely think it is healthy and positive for our members to know and hear from you that that money was partially delivered because of the efforts that have been made and a commitment to continuing to speak into the Treasury.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We've got about 10 minutes left, I think. Are you happy to take a couple more questions?
Carry on. Let's carry on.
Great. Okay. So another one I'm going to sort of stick on at FE for a little bit, though this does also encapsulate universities as well. It's all education really, post-16. After the riots that we saw last summer, we believe fundamentally that there is a strong role for post-16 education to be harnessed to combat racism, to bring universities together. What is your department's thoughts on that?
Well, I agree, first of all. I think particularly if you look at FE, these are enormously important parts of their communities. They are educating a very diverse, I mean, you know, post-16, they are the non-selective part of the education system, FE colleges, and therefore you have an enormous diversity of people within those colleges. And I see, when I visit colleges, the efforts that they are making to bring communities together, to educate people with the sort of values and outlook on life that would be positive for them in terms of their futures and also for the communities that they live in. I mean, Ofsted, of course, inspects FE colleges on the basis of the extent to which they contribute to personal development. So I really agree that whether or not it's, you know, tackling some of the, frankly, the sort of racism and extremism that we saw feeding into the riots last summer, whether or not it's tackling some of the misogyny and other challenges that throughout schools and incidentally into our HE sector in terms of some of the behaviour that we've seen manifest again, particularly against women students. There is a real job to be done. There's a job to be done that is being done, but where I think there's more that we need to do to support colleges in doing that. Because this is where, you know, notwithstanding my view that education should be lifelong and people should be able to keep coming back to it. Actually, for many people, their first experience of moving into adult life is in further education or in higher education. And we cannot leave their political, in the broadest sense, their personal and cultural development we cannot not think about it or not think it's the responsibility of FE and HE, because I believe that it is.